Since the beginning of human history, the elites who control the world have kept secrets that, if revealed, could completely change how we perceive reality. Among those secrets lies deep knowledge about God and the true nature of the divine, which has been carefully hidden from us. Instead, we were taught to believe in a limited view of reality, where God is portrayed as a distant and inaccessible force, leaving us feeling disconnected from our own power. But why were these truths hidden? What makes this knowledge so dangerous to those who seek to control you? Since the dawn of civilization, the idea of God was shaped to make us believe he is a separate being, distant from humanity. This image, upheld by religions and systems of power, places God on an unreachable pedestal as an entity that watches our actions from afar and only intervenes when called upon. This view created a deep separation between humans and the divine, teaching us to look outside ourselves for something that may have always been within. Why did this perspective prevail? Why were we taught to look outward as if connection to the divine depended on intermediaries or specific entities? The answer lies in the structures of control that benefit from our dependence. When we believe we have no direct access to God, we become vulnerable, easier to manipulate by those who position themselves as mediators between us and the divine. This narrative is a powerful tool of control, stripping us of the idea that we possess inherent power and transferring it to external figures, whether leaders, institutions, or dogma. When we accept that the divine is beyond our reach, we move away from the idea that we are co-creators of our reality. But what if that isn't true? Throughout history, the elite have always known that true power lies in understanding that God isn't something outside us. The notion of separation between us and the divine is a mere smokescreen, a way to keep the masses busy looking outward for something that has always been inside. It's like giving out false maps to treasure hunters while holding the real one in your hand. Additionally, the idea of a distant God generates fear, another essential element for control. If God is a supreme judge, watching every mistake and ready to punish, fear becomes a potent weapon that paralyzes us, suppresses questioning, and stops people from seeking a deeper understanding of the divine. After all, who would dare challenge what is considered sacred? Evidence from various spiritual traditions suggests this perspective isn't the only one. Ancient texts, often forgotten or intentionally ignored, tell us that God isn't out there, but here in the center of every human being. The kingdom of God is within you, said Jesus, a powerful statement directly challenging centuries-old ideas of separation. If God is inside us, how does that reshape our perception of power? What does it mean for how we live our lives? This understanding not only dismantles the notion that we are powerless, but also places tremendous responsibility on our shoulders. After all, if we carry God within us, then we are creators, not victims. And that's precisely the idea those in power don't want you to discover. Have you ever wondered why certain knowledge gets suppressed, labeled heretical, or hidden by secret societies? Over time, the elite understood that access to this power could shake the structures of control they've built. If everyone knew that God lives within them, dependence on institutions would fall, and with it the power they exercise over us. This separation between humanity and God also weakens our connection to the universe. When we see ourselves as inferior and distant from the divine, we disconnect from the creative energy flowing through everything that exists. We become passive pieces in a game we believe we cannot control. But what if you began to question and allowed the possibility that this idea of separation was intentionally created? This is the first step to reclaim what's always been yours by right. The understanding that God is not outside but inside you. The idea of a distant divine is one of humanity's greatest perpetuated illusions, a lie that turns us into prisoners of systems that profit from our disconnection. What would happen if you decided to break down that barrier and seek the truth for yourself? The question remains, why, despite so much evidence, do we still choose to believe that power lies outside of us? That's the strength of the narrative. It doesn't only teach us what to think, but how to think, limiting our capacity to question. Yet awakening begins when we decide to look beyond appearances, when we realize the true barrier isn't in the skies but in our own beliefs. We open the door to new understanding. And are you ready to tear down this great illusion and discover what lies behind? Through history, some individuals seem to possess something extraordinary. Spiritual leaders, inventors, and visionaries not only transformed their own lives but also shaped the reality around them. What did they share? A rare and powerful understanding of true power. The power to shape the world doesn't come from outside, it comes from within. That inner power, known in many traditions as creative energy, isn't mystical or unreachable. It's an essential part of who we are. Yet this truth has been distorted over time, hidden by narratives that teach us to seek solutions outside ourselves. But what if you knew that this power was always within your reach? Creative energy is the force connecting our thoughts, emotions, and intentions to the physical world. Picture your ideas as notes in a melody and your emotions as the rhythm that carries them. When in harmony, a powerful symphony arises. But when misaligned, positive thoughts mixed with doubts or negative emotions, the result is noise that blocks full manifestation. Think of times you wanted something but deep down feared you couldn't achieve it. Fear acts as a dissonant vibration, interrupting the natural flow of creation. On the other hand, those who master this creative force understand that internal alignment is key. They learn to feel confidence and gratitude even before seeing physical results, making their intentions so clear they seem to transform reality almost instantly. Have you noticed how some people seem to attract success effortlessly while others struggle constantly? That's no coincidence. The difference lies in how these people interact with their emotions and intentions. Creative energy responds not only to your thoughts but to what you truly feel. For many, this idea seems impossible because we've been conditioned to believe power is outside. From a young age, we're taught to look externally for answers. Self-help books, advice from others, even spiritual practices often reinforce this idea. But what if you turned inward and began to understand how your own thoughts and emotions shape your reality? The elite know that. They understand that creative power isn't just an individual force, it's a collective energy. By mastering this understanding, they don't just shape their own lives but influence the world around them. Though most people remain unaware, this knowledge allows elites to repeat patterns that keep them in power. However, the truth is that this power isn't a privilege of a few. It's present in all of us. The difference lies in practice and understanding. Have you ever noticed how your emotions drive your decisions and consequently shape your life's outcomes? Often we live reactively, letting negative emotions dominate our thoughts. What if you could change that? What if instead of reacting to circumstances, you began to intentionally create what you wish to experience? This doesn't mean ignoring challenges but understanding that everything begins within you. A conscious thought paired with aligned emotion has the power to reconfigure even the most adverse situations. However, controlling your creative energy requires awareness. Most daily thoughts run automatically, guided by fear and deeply rooted belief. But when you become aware of these patterns, you begin to take control. It's not an immediate process, but a journey of learning and self-mastery. The key to unlocking this energy lies in presence. Observe your thoughts, identify emotions that no longer serve you, and direct your intention. These practices transform internal chaos into fertile ground for creation. It's not about denying your emotions, but using them as tools to shape what you want to live. If creative energy is so powerful, why do so many of us ignore it? The answer lies in our conditioning. For generations, we've been taught our lives are determined by external forces. This belief makes us prisoners of circumstance and prevents us from stepping into our role as co-creators of reality. However, by beginning to observe and change our thoughts, we can release this energy from inside out. Then we begin to create a new reality, one that reflects true connection with the divine and our own inner power. Religion, society, and political leaders have become dominant throughout history, creating dependence among the masses. Their idea was clear: those who control access to the divine control people's minds and hearts. During the Middle Ages, the Church played a crucial role in suppressing any belief that challenged its authority. The witch hunts and persecution of heretics weren't just about religious dogma. Their real goal was to eliminate individuals who dared to explore their inner power and direct connection with the divine. Spirituality was monopolized and practices encouraging spiritual autonomy were labeled dangerous. Later, with the scientific revolution, this disconnection intensified differently. Science and spirituality were separated, treated as incompatible realms. Spirituality was relegated to the subjective sphere, while science took responsibility for explaining objective reality. This division further solidified the notion that connection with the divine had no place in the physical world, weakening our perception of inner power. In modern times, this disconnection is maintained in more subtle ways. Society offers endless distractions: social media, constant advertising, and consumption cycles, all designed to occupy our minds and prevent introspection. At the same time, society promotes the exaggerated idea that we need something external to feel complete. Spirituality in turn became commercialized, packaged into books, courses, and methods, promising to teach us what's always been inside us. Curious, isn't it? Even the path to self-discovery has become a commodity. This pattern isn't accidental. It's the result of centuries of conditioning. But why is this knowledge still hidden? Because it represents a direct threat to power structures. Imagine a society where every person understands they aren't victims of circumstance, but creators of reality. Imagine a world where people don't need external validation to feel whole. Such a shift would deeply shake the foundations of social and economic control. The effects of this disconnection are felt in our daily lives. When we believe we are powerless, we accept the role of spectators rather than creators. That shows in our choices that perpetuate dependence on external systems, whether social validation, career, or spiritual gurus. But what if that narrative is just a tool to maintain the status quo? Today, science begins to uncover truths that spiritual traditions have long known. Studies in quantum physics and neuroscience show our thoughts and emotions can influence reality. Though these discoveries aren't widely shared yet, they challenge the idea that we are small and powerless, revealing instead that creation starts within us. The elite have always known about the strategic use of this knowledge. It goes beyond shaping personal realities. Creative energy can be directed at a collective level. Consider, for example, how fear is used as a tool of control. Insecurity and anxiety about the future dominate collective emotions, keeping people focused on scarcity rather than the abundance within. Every era has its own methods of suppressing humanity's connection with the divine, but there have always been those who defied it. Spiritual masters, independent thinkers, and alternative movements who kept the flame of spiritual autonomy alive, often facing great adversity. Today, knowledge is re-emerging on the internet, and access to information makes it possible to question dominant ideas like never before. Yet it is up to each of us to discern what is true and apply it to our lives. After all, understanding intellectually that the power is within you is only the first step. The real challenge is integrating that truth into your daily choices. If we all possess this power, why does it still feel distant? Perhaps because we've been trained to fear. Recognizing our own greatness, acknowledging our power, means taking responsibility for our lives, which can be frightening but also liberating. When you realize you have control, you understand there are no limits to what you can create. And here comes the essential question. How can we begin to access this power? How do we align thoughts, emotions, and intentions to transform reality? This is the next step of our journey, and maybe the most important. The power to shape reality doesn't depend only on what you think, but is deeply connected to what you feel and how those emotions influence your actions. When thoughts, emotions, and actions are in harmony, your creative energy flows freely, producing surprising results. But how do you achieve that alignment? Especially in a world full of distractions. Imagine your thoughts are a destination on a map. They indicate where you want to go. Emotions, on the other hand, are the energy that drives your vehicle toward that destination. If your emotions are out of sync, like fear or doubt, it's like driving with the parking brake on. Even with effort, progress will be limited. This disconnection is more common than it seems. For example, someone who desires prosperity may repeat affirmations, visualize success, and even take actions toward that goal. But if deep down they fear failure or hold unconscious beliefs that money is hard to come by, this internal conflict creates resistance. The universe responds to the dominant energy, and if that energy is scarcity, that is what manifests. Where to begin? The first step is to develop emotional awareness. Often we live on autopilot, ignoring the emotions we carry. Anxiety, insecurity, and fear can be so subtle that we begin to accept them as normal. But these emotions exert powerful influence, even when we don't notice them. To access awareness, ask yourself simple but transformative questions. What do I feel about what I'm feeling? What do I really want to achieve? Are my emotions rooted in confidence or doubt? These questions allow you to observe your emotional state without judgment, creating space for transformation. Also, try emotional visualization. You must not only imagine what you want, you need to feel it as if it's already your reality. If you desire abundance, feel the joy and freedom it brings. If you seek a loving relationship, connect with the emotions of love and gratitude that relationship would create. This practice amplifies your vibration, linking your desires to the universe's energetic field. However, alignment isn't limited to thoughts and feelings. It also requires coherent actions. Ask yourself, do my daily choices reflect what I intend to manifest? Often we desire change, but continue acting through old patterns. For example, if you want a healthier lifestyle, but keep habits that sabotage that goal, your actions aren't aligned with your thoughts and emotions. And what about limiting beliefs? Many are unconscious, stemming from past experiences or external influences. Phrases like money is hard to earn,
or true love doesn't exist, may have been repeated so often they've become internal truths. These beliefs act as anchors, preventing progress even when you want to move forward. Overcoming these barriers requires self-awareness. An effective strategy is reflective writing, journaling. Ask yourself, where does this belief come from? Does it truly reflect who I am? Or was it imposed by someone else? By identifying these beliefs, you can replace them with affirmations that resonate with what you want to create. Another crucial point for alignment is detachment. Often we cling so tightly to a result that we create an energy of anxiety and lack, which interferes with manifestation. Detachment doesn't mean giving up what you want. It means trusting that once aligned, what is yours will come naturally. This requires patience. We live in a world that values speed, but manifestation follows the rhythm of energy, not the clock. Even if results aren't immediate, nurturing your thoughts, emotions, and actions consistently is what keeps the flow active. Daily practices can help sustain this state. For example, dedicating 5 minutes per day to list things you're grateful for is a powerful way to elevate your emotional vibration. Meditation in turn helps silence mental chaos, allowing you to observe and reorganize your thought. When you begin integrating thoughts, emotions, and actions, your life takes on new meaning. Every decision is no longer automatic. It becomes a conscious choice aligned with your deepest desire. Alignment is like tuning an instrument. The more precise, the clearer and more harmonious the melody you'll play in the universe. Alignment between thoughts and emotions is the foundation of conscious manifestation. It's not a process that happens overnight, but a continuous practice. When you understand that your energy determines your reality, you realize you no longer need to seek external answers. You must look inside yourself. A powerful tool for practicing detachment is meditation. During meditation, you learn to observe your thoughts and emotions without attachment. This exercise, when applied to manifestation, teaches that you can desire something without being emotionally attached to the outcome. Furthermore, the practice of gratitude plays a crucial role in detachment. When you are thankful for what you already have, you strengthen the sense of fullness and reduce anxiety about what is yet to come. Gratitude is a way to communicate with the universe, showing that you trust the natural flow of life. Detachment is also deeply connected to the fact that we often seek immediate results, but we forget that time is relative when it comes to manifestation. Some seeds sprout quickly, while others need more time to grow. Trusting the universe's timing is essential to letting go. Have you ever stopped to think that control is an illusion? We try to control outcomes, people, and circumstances, but the truth is the only real control we have lies in how we react and the choices we make. Detachment is accepting that truth. You do your part, but let the universe do it. This doesn't mean giving up on your efforts. On the contrary, it means continuing to work toward your goals, but without anxiety or obsession over results. That balance between intention and surrender allows your energy to flow aligned, without resist. Think of detachment like planting a seed in a garden. You tend the soil, water the plant, and trust it will grow at the right time. You don't need to dig up the seed every day to check if it's sprouting. Just trust nature to do its job. The same principle applies to manifest. Detachment is also a process of self-discovery. It requires facing your fears and insecurities, because attachment often arises in response to those feelings. Letting go of control may feel scary, but in the act of surrendering you discover your true inner strength. In the end, detachment is about recognizing you are already whole. What you desire doesn't come to fill a void, but to complement the fullness that already exists in you. When you understand this, you realize detachment isn't a loss, but a pathway to live with greater ease and trust. The question then becomes, what in your life can you let go of, and trust that the universe will bring what is truly yours at the right time? Within every human being is a force so powerful that when recognized and directed, it can transform reality completely. This force doesn't depend on external circumstances, others' approval, or special conditions. It is a natural birthright. However, this connection with inner power often remains dormant, obscured by limiting beliefs, fears, and worldly distraction. The awakening of this power begins with a simple yet profound act of recognition, realizing you are not just part of the universe, but also its co-creator. This understanding goes beyond logic or intellect. It's a call to look within and realize that the key to all the changes you desire lies inside you. Many of us were conditioned to believe we are powerless in the face of adversity. From a young age, we're taught that our lives are shaped by external forces, luck, destiny, or circumstance. But that belief is one of the greatest illusions ever perpetuated in history. The truth is, your reality is a direct reflection of what you carry inside you. Have you noticed how your life changes when your emotional state changes? When you're confident, full of hope and clarity, things seem to fall into place. Conversely, when you're overwhelmed with doubts or fears, everything seems more difficult. This is no coincidence. It's the manifestation of the energy you project into the world. The power within isn't about having absolute control over the external world, but about the ability to respond to it consciously. Meaning, regardless of circumstances, you always have the power to choose your reaction. This choice shapes not just your experience, but the direction your life will take. Awakening this power requires self-awareness. You must silence external voices, society's expectations, others' judgments, and inherited beliefs to listen to your own truth. But how to do this in such a noisy world? The practice of presence is fundamental in this process. Being present means being fully aware of the current moment, without dwelling on the past or worrying about the future. When you are present, you notice that creative power does not operate in linear time, but in the now. It's in the present moment that your choices, thoughts, and emotions have the greatest impact. This awakening also requires courage. Courage to question everything you've always believed to be true, to face your fears, and to abandon outdated patterns that no longer serve you. Fear is often the greatest barrier to accessing inner power. It keeps us confined to what is familiar, even if that familiar is limiting. But what happens when you face your fears? Extraordinary. You discover they were never as large as they seem. The act of facing fear dissolves its power over you, allowing your inner strength to emerge. Another important step is practicing self-empowerment, which means taking responsibility for your life, without playing the victim or blaming external factors. It's not about ignoring challenges, but recognizing that even in the hardest situations, you have the power to choose how you stand. Have you ever thought about what being a co-creator of your reality means? This is more than a nice idea. It's a call to action. Being a co-creator requires aligning your thoughts, emotions, and intentions with what you desire to manifest. It means living consciously, knowing every choice you make contributes to shaping your experience. This process doesn't happen overnight. It's a journey of self-discovery with ups and downs, but also deep rewards. As you begin to awaken your inner power, you realize life is not something that happens to you, but something you can actively shape. However, it's important to remember inner power doesn't refer to controlling the external world, but mastering your internal world. It's the ability to find peace in chaos, to maintain a high vibration even amid challenges, and to align with your goals regardless of circumstances. Awakening inner power also brings deeper connection to your divine self. The divine isn't separate from you. It pulses in every thought, emotion, and choice you make. This connection goes beyond dogma or specific belief. It's a personal experience of unity with the energy that permeates the universe. When you awaken to this power, you realize you are not alone. The creative energy that flows through you also flows through everything that exists. This means by aligning with this energy, you're not just creating your reality but contributing to the balance of the whole. So what is stopping you from accessing this power? Fear of the unknown, doubt in your ability, resistance to letting go of limiting belief. Whatever it is, the first step is always the same. Look within. When you heed this call, you discover that the power you were searching for was never outside you. It was always there, waiting to be recognized and you. The question now is, are you ready to awaken your truth, your true inner power, and live the life you've always known deep down is possible? Creative power, the ability to shape your reality, is not in a distant place. It lives in your mind, your emotions, and your choices. When you align your thoughts with your feelings, and act in accordance with your intentions, you realize you don't need external validation. You are already complete. If you'd like to explore more about spirituality, I've selected some videos full of deep knowledge and fascinating insight. Just click one of them. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel to continue this journey of self-discovery and spiritual learning. Your commitment to knowledge is the first step to transforming your reality.